with God's grace over these past 3 months, and we have had a great 3 months. They say maybe the best 3 months ever for a president, and I think there's a whole new spirit in our country.
So there's the president making the case about America having momentum. He says world leaders are lining up to negotiate new trade deals, and another major partner is coming to the table. In fact, today, and another one tomorrow, and on we go. It's Thursday. Good morning, everybody. Live in New York, I'm Bill Hemmer. How are we feeling over there?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Great. I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. On this Thursday, President Trump is set to meet with one of our top European allies, the Prime Minister of Italy. So the two are expected to talk trade. This after yesterday's talks with the Japanese delegation. The president touting big progress out of that one.
So meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal is shedding light on the administration's strategy. It says the White House is using the talks to further isolate China, asking a lot of their trading partners to limit the dealings that they may have in the future in exchange for relief on tariffs and a good deal with the U.S.
And House Republican Conference Chair Lisa McClain, she's on deck. But first, let's get to Alexandria Hoff. She's live at the White House. Hi, Alex. Good morning.
Hi, good to be with you. You know, from the European Union's perspective, Prime Minister Meloni is the bridge that they need. You've heard the term Trump whisper being tossed around there. But the fact of the matter is Meloni and President Trump have a good relationship. Compliments have been shared. She actually even attended the president's inauguration. So the EU hopes that today's meeting will help sell the president on a zero-for-zero tariff deal that the EU has been seeking. Meloni, of course, is going to also want to preserve her own good standing. This morning, President Trump highlighted today's meeting and talks with other countries who have been driven to the table. He posted this morning, had a very productive call with the president of Mexico yesterday. Likewise, they met with the highest level Japanese trade representatives. It was a very productive meeting. Every nation, including China, wants to meet today. Italy. Now, there was some surprise that the president was directly involved with the Japanese delegation who was in Washington yesterday because those talks were seen as preliminary. But the White House says it was important to the president. On China, the White House reiterated this.
The ball is in China's court. They need to do business with the United States. They need the best thing on the face of the planet, and that is the American consumer.
Well, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is concerned about dampened consumer spending and said tariff increases went beyond what banks were anticipating.
The effects of that are likely to move us away from our goals. So unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows in all likelihood, and inflation is likely to go up as tariffs find their way.
Now, President Trump believes that interest rates should be cut. Now, the Federal Reserve Chair, he says that he wants some clarity on tariffs first, but how much time he has to wait is really put in question this morning as the president posted Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. Dana.
All right, Alex, thank you so much. Looking beautiful there in the White House sunshine. Thank you.
So let's bring in Michigan Congresswoman Lisa McClain, House Republican Conference Chair, and good morning to you. Let's get right into it. Here's Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, talking about those who go to the front of the line will get a better deal. Watch here.
I think there will be advantage to our allies, especially in a first mover advantage. Usually the first person who makes the deal gets the best deal. So
who do you think will be first?
It's their choice.
Japan, you got Italy today and South Korea tomorrow. Here's the issue about this whole idea about isolating China. There was a loophole from the trade deal USMCA in 2018, and the loophole was it allowed China to move factories into Mexico and then sell the products the Chinese made in those factories to the American consumer. And right now, this administration's they're trying to prevent that. Do you have an inclination that whether it's Japan or China or Italy or Germany, anyone else down the line, that they're willing to play ball with the U.S. on that deal and close forever that loophole?
My inclination is yes, and I think you've already seen actions towards that. President Trump, what he's trying to do, and we've talked about this over and over again, is trying to level the playing field honestly and move in the right direction, trying to close the loophole. Look, he's trying to bring manufacturing back to the United States and back to, most importantly, our allies, not our adversaries like China. And he's talking about it, but more importantly, people and countries are acting upon it. And that's the positive that you're seeing. And if I can just say one more thing is, look at the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan is number 3 behind California and New York for manufacturing jobs lost. That's horrible for our state. That's horrible for our constituents. President Trump is fixing that. He wants to bring jobs back to the United States. And more importantly, for me, he wants to bring jobs back to Michigan. So we're actually excited and giving him some grace and patience on this.
The Chinese are not waiting around. They are also on a, I don't know if I'd call it a charm offensive, but they're going around, especially to Southeast Asia, saying, don't you want to cut a deal with us? They spoke to the Europeans yesterday, and they have cheaper goods to sell, right? We might have a better message. We might have a better deal for them, and Beston is saying, get to the table first. But yesterday, the Fed chairman warned this, that the impact of the tariffs will include higher inflation and slower growth. The president really didn't like that message from him and might not even want Jerome Powell to be around. Do you take the warning seriously from the Fed chair, or do you think he should go because he's not correct?
Listen, I have the full faith in President Trump, and the Fed chair can do what the Fed chair can do, and that is one potential outcome. But the other potential outcome that we're already see working is we see people already coming to the table. We see countries coming to the table. Look at what Japan is doing. Look at all the investments that are coming back into America. $5 trillion, and those investments means jobs, right? So there is going to be some short-term discomfort. There's no question about that as we resettle and get the playing field level. But it's kind of like working out. You're going to have some short-term discomfort for long-term health. We have to do things differently because we are tired of America being taken advantage of. And I have full faith in President Trump that he'll do that.
Sounds like we had to hydrate. That's what I take from that answer. On the tax cuts and this budget reconciliation idea, it's a stunning thing to hear Republicans even considering the possibility of raising taxes. From North Dakota, here is Senator Kevin Cramer, Republican. Here's what he said. He said, it's just so fun to be a Republican these days, just to watch the transformation where suddenly people are going. When you think about it, why do we worry so much about that? So whether it's allowing them to go up a little bit or even lowering some of the other stuff more, there's a populism growing in the party, even among those of us with powdered wigs. That last line's kind of cute, I thought, end quote. If Republicans don't lower taxes, who will?
Nobody. I mean, the answer to that question is really simple.
So why even consider or entertain the possibility of raising the rate on some Americans?
Yeah, listen, I have no intention of raising the tax rates on anybody. The Republicans, we want lower tax rates. If we don't extend and make permanent these Trump tax cuts, it will be the largest tax cuts that the American people have to deal with in probably their lifetime. I can share with you, for Michiganders, if we don't make the Trump tax cuts permanent, $2,400 a year every Michigander will pay extra. As a business owner, of somebody who's grown and built their business from scratch, I like lower taxes because lower taxes means I can hire more people, I can invest in the business, I can be charitable to my community. I can give my employees more money. It just makes sense. The Democrats, they are the party of higher taxes. They want to tax you and make you dependent on the government. The Republicans want to give you an opportunity to work. And by doing that, we need to lower the tax rates. And that's what we have every intention to do.
So then just quickly, would that be for Speaker Johnson, who might be keeping a list and checking it twice, that you would be a no on any resolution that would raise taxes?
Lisa McClain is not for raising taxes. I can share that with you. I haven't heard a lot of my colleagues who are interested in raising taxes. There's so much inefficiency. There's so much fraud, waste, and abuse. Raising taxes shouldn't even be on the table right now.
Got it. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday. It's been a busy week, and another one to come next week. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.